This episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Fallout 76. All of the changes in the Lion King Remake. Disney gave us something big to be thankful for last week when they dropped the first official teaser for their live-action The Lion King Remake on Thanksgiving Day. With our first peek at what the new Lion King would actually look like, first reactions were a little mixed, with some fans loving its faithful recreation of the original's iconic moments, other fans wondering if we really need a Lion King remake in 2019, and still other fans asking if this film is like 99% computer generated, can you really call it live action?
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Despite all of that, there's no denying that the teaser was a huge success. It racked up 224.6 million views worldwide in 24 hours, which makes it the second most watched teaser in 24 hours ever. The number one most watched teaser in 24 hours is, of course, Avengers Infinity War, which was watched 238 million times. Now, on its initial first look, this seems to be a shot-for-shot remake of the original film. However, there are a few key differences that tell us that this might not be a complete copy of the original with updated graphics, so let's break them down. First off, the wise old mandrill Rafiki seems to have been given the biggest tweaks in this teaser. He looks a lot different than his animated 1994 counterpart. Now, in the original Lion King, Rafiki was patterned after a mandrill, but with his long arms and unusually long tail, he didn't look that much like the animal he's patterned after. In the remake, they gave him much more realistic proportions. And speaking of realism, in the remake, Rafiki doesn't have his trademark walking stick, with his bow staff fighting moves and tendency to whap other animals with his weapon of choice. The walking stick was a big part of Rafiki's aesthetic, but we could see why they lost it for the remake in the interest of looking more realistic. Now, this is just a teaser, so he might start carrying his stick after the time jump when Simba ages from a cub to a full-grown lion, but that's just speculation on our part. Also missing from this teaser is the gourd that Rafiki uses to bless Simba before showing him to the other animals that surround Pride Rock. Instead, Rafiki blesses Simba with this weird kind of root herb thing. And if we want to get really nitpicky, which, come on, we really do, it looks like Rafiki might now be right-handed instead of the left-handed Rafiki that we've grown to know and love from the original. How do we know this? Well, in the animated film, Rafiki uses his left hand to smear gourd juice on Simba's forehead, and in the trailer, he uses his right hand to smear root dust in the same shot. Will this impact the story at all? Probably not, but it's a difference nonetheless. Now, for the geographically inclined, the new teaser trailer seems to be adding more accurate details to the original's Tanzania-inspired landscapes. In the live-action version, we see that iconic opening sunrise shot recreated with several baobab trees, and in the animated version, that same shot features one lone baobab tree on a huge landscape. The animated shot works for adding a sense of the expansive landscape, but it looks like the live-action film is going for a more realistic view, where there would be multiple trees and not just one in the middle of a huge grassland. Now, we also see more details popping up in the intermingling of the animal kingdom. In the original film from 1994, when Rafiki holds up the newborn Simba for all of the kingdom to see, the animals are separated in groups by species. Elephants all together, separate from zebras, who are separate then from the giraffes. In fact, the folks over at Screen Rant even noticed that the animators may have cut down on time by copy and pasting some of the animals to create the crowd, resulting in not just various herds of animals, but what looked like cloned animals. But in this new trailer, the similar shots of the different animals' herds are not separated by species with animals intermingling. Plus, the new version seems to have taken the time to model each animal individually so that they're not just dolly-like clones of each other. Now, we also noticed some differences in that establishing shot of birds in flight. The view of just a few birds in the live action opens up to reveal a huge flock ahead of them, all flying west. Now, the animated version of this shot shows a lot of birds too, but because of the top-down angle, the live action shot makes that flock seem much bigger. And speaking of herds of animals, that tragic stampede scene is featured in the teaser trailer, but with some significant differences. The action of the wildebeest charging into the valley is much more dynamic in the live action, with the camera following the stampede from behind rather than from a panning shot from the side like in the animated film. The change in angle could also mean that we might not see that sad scene unfold from Simba's perspective like we do in the original, but we'll have to wait to see the film to know for sure. And finally, one of the big changes between the animated and live-action Lion King trailer is that there is no rain in the final shot of adult Simba standing on Pride Rock and roaring. In the original, this was the moment when Simba takes his place as the rightful king, with the rains putting out nearby fires. Now it could be that the live-action live-action story will find a different ending that doesn't require rains to come in at the most perfect moment in time to prevent the entire kingdom from burning down, or if this shot could be from a different moment in the film. But either way, that lion is staying dry. So what does it all mean? Well, for the most part, it seems that these are all just surface level changes and the core story and characters are going to remain pretty close to their cell animated counterparts. But this is just a teaser, and we won't know the full effect of all of these changes on the story until The Lion King comes out in 2019. That being said, what do you folks think? Are these changes necessary for the live-action film to make sense? Do you hope that there are even more changes in the film or that it stays closer to the original? Let's discuss. Also, thank you again to Fallout 76 for sponsoring today's episode. Happy Reclamation Day! The time has come to unseal the door to Vault 76. That's right, Fallout 76 is out today. Emerge from your vault to help rebuild America. Set up your homestead using the camp platform to shelter away from monsters. Allied players can build together, or you can go it alone. Just watch out for unruly neighbors, because every other human character is another player. Fallout 76 is out now, available on Xbox One and worldwide on all platforms.